Walter White. Walter White doesn't start as a villain. He begins as a man desperate to provide for his family after a terminal cancer diagnosis. A brilliant chemist turned high school teacher, Walter feels trapped in a life of mediocrity, haunted by missed opportunities and financial struggles. When he turns to manufacturing methamphetamine, it's not just about money. It's about reclaiming control in a life that's slipping away. But as Walter descends deeper into the drug trade, his motivations shift. What starts as a mission to secure his family's future morphs into a quest for power, pride, and dominance. He poisons children, murders rivals, and manipulates those around him, all while justifying his actions as sacrifices for his loved ones. By the end, Walter admits the truth. I did it for me. His transformation from a sympathetic everyman to a ruthless kingpin is both horrifying and tragic. Was Walter evil, or was he a victim of his own circumstances, his ego, his illness, his societal failures? His journey forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about how far we'd go when backed into a corner, and whether redemption is possible for those who cross the line. Magneto. Magneto isn't just a supervillain. He's a man shaped by unimaginable suffering. A Holocaust survivor, Max Eisenhardt, endured horrors most can't fathom, losing his family to genocide and witnessing humanity's capacity for cruelty firsthand. For Magneto, mutants aren't just an evolution of mankind. They're a vulnerable minority, destined to face the same persecution he survived. His evil stems from this trauma, not malice. While Charles Xavier dreams of peaceful coexistence between humans and mutants, Magneto sees naivety in that vision. He believes mutants must fight to survive in a world that fears and hates them. Acts like manipulating governments or attacking humans seem extreme, but they're driven by his determination to protect mutant kind at all costs. What makes Magneto so compelling is how relatable his pain feels. Is he truly wrong to fear humanity's potential for oppression? Or does his quest for justice justify the harm he causes? Magneto reminds us that villains aren't born, they're made. And sometimes, their scars run deeper than their actions. Killmonger. Killmonger isn't your typical Marvel villain. He's a revolutionary with a cause. Raised in poverty and oppression in Oakland, California, Killmonger grew up acutely aware of the systemic injustices faced by Black communities worldwide. His father's murder at the hands of T'Chaka, the king of Wakanda, left him orphaned and fueled his burning desire for vengeance, not just against T'Challa, but against a system that abandoned millions like him. Killmonger's plan to arm marginalized people globally with Wakandan technology is brutal, yet rooted in justice. He argues Wakanda's isolationism is complicity in global suffering. When he defeats T'Challa and takes the throne, his victory feels less like triumph and more like tragedy, a man shaped by pain, trying to rewrite history through violence. What makes Killmonger unforgettable is how much we understand his rage. Was he wrong to demand change, or was his fatal flaw believing peace could only come through war? Killmonger forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about privilege, inequality, and what it means to fight for a better world, even when the methods are flawed. Loki. Loki isn't your average villain. He's a trickster, a liar, and perhaps the most complex anti-hero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Adopted as a child and raised in the shadow of Thor, Loki grows up believing he's destined for greatness. But when he discovers he's not just the second son, but also a frost giant, a race despised by his adoptive father, Odin, his world shatters. Betrayal becomes his weapon of choice. From attempting to conquer Earth in the Avengers to orchestrating chaos across the cosmos, Loki's actions are driven by feelings of abandonment and inadequacy. Yet, beneath his mischievous grin lies a man desperate for validation. What makes Loki so compelling is how often we see his humanity peek through. In Thor, Ragnarok, he reluctantly teams up with Thor, showing loyalty despite years of sibling rivalry. By Avengers, Infinity War, his heroic sacrifice leaves audiences heartbroken. Is Loki truly evil, or is he a victim of circumstances beyond his control? His journey reminds us that even gods can feel painfully human, and sometimes, villains are just lost souls searching for belonging. Anakin Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker wasn't born a Sith Lord. He was a hero who fell victim to fear, manipulation, and tragedy. As a child, Anakin was a slave on Tatooine, discovered by the Jedi only to be thrust into a world of impossible expectations. The Jedi Order, while noble, failed him. They suppressed his emotions, isolated him, and treated him as a weapon rather than a person. When Palpatine preyed on Anakin's deepest fear, losing Padme, he offered a twisted solution: embrace the dark side to save her. Anakin's transformation into Darth Vader wasn't a choice for power, but a desperate attempt to defy fate. Yet, this decision cost him everything: his body, his freedom, and ultimately, his humanity. What makes Anakin's story so tragic is how relatable his pain feels. Was he truly evil, or was he a pawn in Palpatine's grand design? By the time he redeems himself in Return of the Jedi, we see the man he once was, a victim of circumstances beyond his control. Darth Vader reminds us that even the darkest villains can carry the weight of unhealed wounds and broken promises. Cersei Lannister. Cersei Lannister is often painted as one of the most ruthless villains in Game of Thrones, but her actions are deeply rooted in survival and maternal love. Born into a patriarchal society that undervalues women, Cersei learned early on that power isn't given, it's taken. Her infamous walk of shame stripped her of dignity, leaving her humiliated and broken. Yet, it also ignited a fire within her, fueling her determination to never be vulnerable again. Her evil stems from protecting her children, her only true loves, in a world that constantly threatens them. From blowing up the Great Sept of Baelor to orchestrating political betrayals, every move she makes is calculated to secure their legacy. But when her children die one by one, Cersei becomes a woman consumed by grief and vengeance, lashing out at a world that took everything from her. What makes Cersei so compelling is how much we see ourselves in her pain. Is she truly evil, or is she a product of a system that forced her to fight with every weapon at her disposal? Cersei's story isn't just about power. It's about a mother's love twisted into something unrecognizable by loss and betrayal. Maleficent. Maleficent wasn't always the mistress of evil. In Disney's reimagined tale, she begins as a kind and powerful fairy, protector of the Moors, a magical land untouched by human greed. But her life takes a dark turn when Stefan, a man she once trusted and loved, betrays her. To gain power, he drugs her and cuts off her wings, leaving her physically and emotionally scarred. This act of betrayal transforms Maleficent into the vengeful figure we know from Sleeping Beauty. Her curse on Aurora isn't just an act of spite, it's a manifestation of her pain and broken trust. Yet, as Aurora grows up, Maleficent finds herself torn between her desire for revenge and the unexpected love she feels for the innocent princess. Her redemption arc challenges everything we thought we knew about her. Beneath the horns and the wrath lies a woman shaped by heartbreak, not inherent malice. Maleficent's journey reminds us that even those who seem irredeemable are capable of love, and sometimes healing comes from the most unlikely places. Scar is often dismissed as a power-hungry villain, but his story reveals a deeper layer of neglect and resentment. As the younger brother of Mufasa, Scar grows up in the shadow of greatness, always second best, always overlooked. While Simba is showered with love and attention, Scar is left to rot in the Pride Lands, his ambitions crushed under the weight of familial favoritism. His jealousy isn't born out of pure malice, it's a response to years of being ignored and undervalued. When he orchestrates Mufasa's death and manipulates Simba into exile, it's not just for power. It's a desperate attempt to claim the life he believes was stolen from him. Yet, his reign as king proves disastrous, driven by arrogance and poor leadership rather than genuine vision. Scar's tragedy lies in his inability to channel his pain constructively. Was he truly evil, or a product of systemic neglect? His descent into chaos serves as a cautionary tale about how bitterness can consume even the brightest minds, and how easily we dismiss those who feel invisible until it's too late. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay curious.